first ask the question here, in terms of managing cloud costs, right? How do organizations do that today, especially as they go from data center over to public cloud and they have more and more cloud environments? And I think, just from this data, it's a smorgasbord, right, of various solutions, manual tools, homegrown scripts, and certainly the path forward, seems to be an increasing use of cloud native tools from your CSPs like Azure, Google, AWS, et cetera, and then also various third-party solutions. So it's definitely kind of growing in that direction. So a lot of different tool sets moving forward. And then I'll just share our last insight. Maybe we can riff on this, Matt, but
Oh, if I could though, just say something just quickly about this. What's interesting to me in this slide is it's the problem I think that it exposes. So one of the things is, okay, cloud native tools, are they great? And of course you can go to AWS and they'll have a million stories about how their optimization tools helped Expedia or Lyft or whatever get more out of their services. But we're talking about hybrid cloud now. So now if I'm using cloud native tools and I have more than one cloud, then I'm automatically using at least two tools.
Right.
Now I've also, of course, part of hybrid cloud is now I'm doing things on premise. So I'm actually optimizing my own private cloud as well. Now, what cost optimization means in a private cloud setting, of course, is very different. I mean, there's still costs to maintaining private cloud. They're just not the same usage costs or rates that you're dealing with your other providers. But now, just because I would need to make sure that that's running optimally and I know who's using it and who's spinning things up, now I need a third tool to do that.
Yeah.
And so you have, so as we see, of course, people got to select multiple options here. So my guess is, so they're saying, yes, 66%, of course, I'm using my cloud native tool, but I need something else. No one's saying 100% cloud native tools because they've got other stuff to do. So they're going to search for third-party tools to help them actually manage their multiple clouds. Well, one of the issues there is a lot of the third-party vendors, there's gaps. Like they may be good with two clouds, but if you have to use any more as more of a smaller cloud or a niche cloud or something like that, that's not going to be built into your third-party tool. So you're automatically going to need something else to do that. So I think just before we get to the final slide, I just wanted to emphasize how that this is a problem and a problem that makes optimization, 360 optimization, kind of holistic cloud optimization, super challenging because you can't use just one thing to do it. And and as soon as you have to have more than one tool to check on what's happening, there's a possibility for error. You're going to miss things. It's not going to be synthesized. And so your optimization process is itself not going to be optimized.
Right.
So it was just, I hope I'm not talking too much, but I've had a lot of thoughts about this particular slide, and I just wanted to make sure I got that out there.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on, Matt. I think the rate at which new services are appearing in the public cloud environments. I was just thinking AWS, it has over, maybe like 200 plus services, and it keeps on adding new ones kind of every month, every quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, all those services at some point need to be optimized. So I think the rate of public cloud service delivery, that increases. You now multiply that across all these new cloud environments and your on-prem environments, so that exponentially increases. And then just to your point, the ability then to optimize, it makes your optimization problem so much more complex.
Yes.
By the various nature of the environments that have to be managed and the level and the quantity of services that now actually need to be optimized. Everything actually gets harder, right?
Right. And especially when you see here that at least a third are either just doing manual processes, which whenever I hear manual process, I get sort of terrified. Yeah. But also it's essentially with homegrown tools and scripts, now you're just back to the custom coding problem. Yeah. Those aren't scalable. Right. They're not maintainable. What if you knew it so anyway, I think as we've identified, there's a problem here that there's no unity, and that's going to automatically be suboptimal.
Yeah. And then kind of, the segue to our final insight, right? With kind of these tool sets that organizations are using. And in addition, Matt, you brought it up, right? It's a large part is tools, a large part is process and culture, right? We asked the question, right? What is it around either your combination of tools and processes that is still challenging when it comes to managing cloud costs. And this is what the survey revealed, right? 78% said that, their existing cloud management
Yeah.
processes, right, they're challenged with limited insights and visibility into where to optimize costs. And maybe that has something to do with the rate at which these services are coming on board with the
Yep.
CSP. 57% said that despite using all these tools, right, they still have to use a lot of spreadsheets and scripts to understand cloud bills and security gaps. So still that manual problem, despite using, a lot of kind of third-party tools, right? So manual is still a problem. I thought was also really interesting was this third one right here, 54% saying that, automation or lack of automation is still an issue, right? So despite having a lot of different third-party tools or cloud native, there's still a lot of manual processes required to, optimize cost or I don't know, shut down workloads or what have you. So it's not as automated as they would like, right? So that's what some of the pains are that we heard.
No, and I think first of all, as we were saying, I mean, as I just said before, so this limited insights of visibility, having more tools doesn't actually give you more insight. It actually makes it harder for you to actually manage visibility, and so you're going to miss stuff. I think it's important here. I know we've been focusing a lot on cost, but limited visibility is also a huge security and governance issue. I mean, limited visibility isn't just like if you don't know, were things configured properly, or are there misconfigured virtual machines that are just zombies floating out there that I'm not even aware of anymore? That's a huge security risk. So it's important to remember that we talk about cost control, but which is obviously critical for people. But this visibility issue and a control issue over what's actually happening in your cloud environment is a huge security risk that also needs to be addressed. So I wanted to make that point. The other thing I wanted to say is, it's again this convergence of optimization of cloud spend, and this is something I've learned from the CIO of Uphold. Uphold's it's like a crypto app. They have about 6 million users that allows you to trade and manage your crypto accounts and stuff like that. We don't need to go down the crypto rabbit hole right now.
Topic for another webinar.
Topic for another way. I do have my opinions on that as well. But what was interesting is he emphasized both sides of it. He said, first of all, that you need to take advantage you need to take advantage of automation to properly optimize what you're doing. And he said, whenever there's any human intervention, things are not optimal for just reconciling things. If I have to have a person chasing people down or trying to manually shut off machines that are just sitting there, that's obviously not an optimal solution. And plus, it's possible to do it in an automated way. So the thing is, it would be one thing if it's like, well, it would be so great if we could automate these things, but let's face it, we're never going to get there. No, you can already do it. So it's not like it's not possible. It's just people aren't doing it. And so, but yes, it's critical that when you can tie visibility to like automated remediation and automatically addressing things, that's going to make your automation process itself more optimized. But there is, and this is the other thing too, he said, you can't get away from the need for policies as well. There's always going to be a human dimension for this. And that's why it's important, if you can even automate, there has to be a part of your automation process that's also an education process. I mean, your optimization process that's also an education process, so that you're making the users themselves more and more aware of either cost issues that they're generating, or, I mean, even more critically in many ways, security issues they may be raising through their cloud usage or their way that they're provisioning and configuring things. So
that's like really interesting, man. So I just, I took a note there. I want to, read about this after I thought your point, this is really like automation is required for optimization, right? You need to automate to properly optimize this eventually. And then you brought this other point, which is this kind of human intervention. And it's interesting now that I look back at the survey, even this point here, right? This, where my mouse is, this 46%, right? Like hard to get stakeholders to take action and resolve. I mean, your point there, can automation be used in a way to ensure that all the key stakeholders know what's coming? So again, maybe bringing back to that cultural kind of narrative we're talking about before, so they know what the issues are. Everyone can get on the same page as actions are being taken. Is that kind of the blend
Oh yeah, yeah.
that's going
No,
on?
and again, you can think about automation both in terms of, well, I can just, if I like a almost like a hunter killer app. If I find
Yeah,
zombie VMs, I shut them off, and I
yeah,
just have my predators going out and terminating stuff.
yeah,
But you can also think about the automation. It can play a role in the education, which
yeah,
is, can I automate alerts or automate signals to people that
yeah,
help start to train them about what they're doing, like when they're provisioning, making recommendations? I mean, there's some things too that, I mean, it's interesting because you can think about it even from a cost perspective. Like, there are ways that, you could set up a policy so that anyone, you can use these tools, and we just say, I'm going to leave it up to you, developer or whatever, to decide what you want to use. But
yeah,
it could also be the case that even though we're giving them the decision and the kind of freedom and flexibility to decide, there may be cost differentials in those decisions.
yeah,
And there may be reason they want to go for the more expensive option or something. Who knows what their actual needs are. But it is also something you could kind of automate. And this starts just planting the seed in their mind of, if you just recommended an alternative, for example, and said, okay, yeah, hey, I see you're doing this. Did you know if you did it this way, it'll cost X amount less, or you'll use
mhm,
this fewer hours or resources and things like that.
yeah,
So I think all these things, and that's why what I'm trying to say, it's not, well, there's technology on the one hand and behavior and culture and operations on the other hand. What I'm really saying is these things need to reinforce each other.
mm,
And
mm.
sometimes, and I'm also not saying we need, the enterprise grant would just work so much better if there were no humans involved. Um, like, I'm not saying that either.
Right.
Humans are the deciders and the thinkers. The machines can't do that. But the machines should should augment the capabilities of the
Yeah,
people within the organization, and also, and make it so they can do more with less. Even as we were talking about with the blend example, let's make it so that my engineers can actually service more
yeah,
people through more clients, through better integration and automation and codeless tools or low code tools. But it's
awesome.
also, with this case, how can I actually not, I can try to enforce things through technology and make it so that people just don't have many choices. But a lot of times people need to have choices. And even then, though, technology can play a role in
Yep,
educating people about the choices they're making and help to guide them towards making the optimal choice.
yep.
Because you can't, we're not, and nor am I advocating for, we're not going to, nor am I advocating for the elimination of this human component in what we're doing.
Yeah. No, these are great, man. No, I really appreciate it. And these kind of war stories, these real life examples, right, of a blend, or you mentioned Skyworks, Bearing, and Learcore. I think
Yeah,
it's really
uphold.
cool
Yeah,
to
yeah.
see.
I know. I mean,
Uphold.
again, 90,
Yeah.
we saw at the very top. Everyone's doing this.
Yeah.
Everyone knows it's important. Everyone
Yeah.
sees it as critical. So, I mean, there's stories everywhere. I mean, this is just a
Yeah.
teeny fraction. Everyone's trying to wrestle and overcome these cloud challenges.
Yeah. No, this is great.